Welcome to Marveled Media Podcast, where we talk about all things media, especially Marvel. I'm Blake, and I'm here with my co-host, Alex.
And welcome to episode 4 of Marvel Talk. Today we'll be discussing the insanity that was episode 5 of Hawkeye, which dropped on Disney Plus earlier today. So without further delays, Blake, take it away.
Well, definitely insanity is a great word to describe this episode. I think, once again, this show is just, every week it just keeps getting better and better. I would say probably we can start with, I don't know if we want to start with the obvious, again, spoilers for episode 5 of Hawkeye. I'll just say that at the beginning. If you haven't seen episode 5 of Hawkeye, just leave a like, come back to the episode. But I think we're just going to get right into the biggest thing that we both want to talk about is Kingpin, Vincent D'Nofrio. He's in. We got him. It's over.
We got him. It's over.
Change my state of mind.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Love so hard to find.
we got him.
He's here.
Let's go. Yeah, it was insane. It was the reveal at the end was it was perfect. Now we just need to find out if we're actually going to get to see him in a scene in the next episode. But it's gonna be insane. It's crazy. This whole episode was perfect.
No, it was really good. I guess we can kind of go, backtrack, go to the beginning, but we just had to get out the fact that we got Kingpin. We're excited for that. Obviously, this episode opens up with a flashback, and we get to see Yelena and another assumed to be ex-Black Widow helping her try to go around and free other Black Widows. They meet up with this one. They talk, blah, blah, blah. Yelena goes. She gets snapped away. She comes back. And she says, like, oh, I need to, go find Natasha, let her know I'm back. And then, the episode comes back to current day, and we're back in with everything going on. But I thought it was, again, I think it's interesting that these shows seem to really focus more on the blip and people disappearing, as obviously we saw that was a part of WandaVision with Monica Rambeau being blipped away. And then you just have in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we kind of have that whole thing of people getting blipped away talking about, like, Sam trying to get that loan. And they're like, oh, well, you don't have any proof of employment over the past 5 years. And he's like, yeah, I was blipped away. Kind of hard to work when you're basically dead. So I think it's interesting that we keep getting these. And flashbacks are another big thing that I've really been enjoying with these. I don't know about you.
No, for sure. And they actually made it somewhat different because it felt like it was, you saw her get snapped away and then come back in like what seemed like 5 seconds to her. So it was a different perspective. It was showing how the people actually felt. Because for us, or like for the people who didn't get blipped away, it was they got snapped and we didn't see them for 5 years. And then they come back. But you just saw how all of a sudden, to show the passage of time, the color inside of the bathroom changed from, I can't remember if it was red to like green. And then you just saw Yelena kind of come back and be like, what the hell is going on? And she walks out and that's the same widow that she tried to help earlier, but now she has a family. And now she's like, what the hell is going on? 5 years later pops up. She's like, oh no, now I gotta go find out where Natasha is. I gotta tell her that I'm okay. And she doesn't know yet that Natasha is no longer alive, and that she's the reason why she's actually back. So and obviously the way this episode plays out, she still doesn't know everything clearly.
Right. Which I agree. I thought that was really cool that they kind of showed that different side of the blip where it's just like we literally saw her disappear and then we just saw her reappear in like the whole around her, the bathroom changing in that whatever, and then she was back. So yeah, I agree. That was cool to see like that kind of perspective of how, and she even said like I was just in the bathroom for like 5 minutes. I come back out and you tell me it's 5 years later. So I thought that was really definitely an interesting way to show it. From there we go to seeing Kate back at her mom's house, and her mom's all like can see that Kate's kind of beat up on her face and has scratches and cuts, and again we kind of get like a Eleanor having like a motherly moment trying to like take care of Kate and let her know like, oh, everything's okay. And then Kate at the end of that says like, just so you know, Clint and I looked into it. Jack's like, the CEO of the shell company Sloan, just would you please look into it? And her mom's like, yeah, I will. And then some things happen in between, but I kind of just want to continue on that. Is then we see Jack get arrested in the house, and he's saying like, "Oh, don't worry, honey. Like, I would have called the police if I were you too. Clearly, I'm being framed." What is your kind of whole thoughts about what's everything going on? Did she truly have no idea?
No, she knows, and I think the person who's actually in charge of the shell company actually is Eleanor, not him, and they're just putting him, having him be the face of it, and he doesn't even know anything about it. That's why he was like, okay, yeah, I have not worked a single day in my life. I'll get this figured out. And I think he was referring to is that he knows that she called the police on him, and he was like, it's fine. I would do the same thing too. But I'll clear my name and I'll be right out. And I think she did this because she knows she wants Kate out of the picture. Like, she doesn't want her to be associated with Clint, because she knows that obviously Kingpin hired Yelena to kill Clint, and she doesn't want Kate anywhere near him when that does go down. So that's why I think we've been kind of getting her reaction on being more motherly, because she wants her as far away from that situation as possible. Because obviously she knows what's going down, and kind of going back to the last episode when she was talking to Clint and she was saying, please, are you going to drop this case? She was, because she was very adamant on them dropping that case, because she doesn't want Kate to be anywhere near it, because she knows that she could get hurt, and that's the last thing that she wants. But yeah, I think she did that to kind of get Kate off of her back, and that way the plan can then proceed without any bumps on the road.
So you think Jack was framed here? You don't think he had anything to do with it?
No, I don't
Really?
think so. No, either. There's like a little small part of me.
You think his hands are just completely clean?
A small part of me wants to say that he just took the fall for her. Briefly.
How else would he have all his money, though? And his uncle, Armand, was very clearly involved in this stuff. You don't think he was involved in it?
That's true. I don't know, man. That's
to me, he was saying all that smugly.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Oh, I have no idea," because he even smiled when he said, "I'll be out in no time, in time for like the Christmas party, or like the work Christmas party."
Mm-hmm.
And he said something like, "You'll see," and he kind of like smirked, which is why I think this final episode that we get a week from now when we're recording this, I think it's going to be very much along the lines of the Falcon and Winter Soldier ending, where that episode was pretty much solely surrounded around the like voting happening for everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this 6th episode is going to be very much surrounded about this work Christmas party and stuff's going down at the Christmas party.
I agree. Yeah.
Because I think the way Jack said it is like, I'll see you, or like, I'll be back for the Christmas party, with something like him, and potentially now we have Eleanor and Jack are actually basically against each other. Because that's kind of what I'm thinking now is Jack and Eleanor are different sides of, they're not both working under Kingpin, because we now know Eleanor is connected to Kingpin. That picture, they were together.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear. I don't think Jack is that much under Kingpin, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he has a different connection, because Armand and Eleanor, when they were talking, they both, they said, I know powerful people too, which to me wouldn't, kind of mention they don't know the same powerful person. They have different people.
Mm-hmm.
So I would kind of assume that they're different, working under different people, but I don't know. I could be wrong on that. That's just my thought, is Jack definitely had something to do with it, and something's going to happen at this Christmas party.
Oh, no, for sure. Like, the final battle is going to happen around this party, wherever. I think they mentioned it was at the big-ass Christmas tree, like that building where that tree is. I think that's where it's going to go down. But another thought is, what if they're actually in it together? And in order to get the cops out of the way, one of them had to take the fall. and then that's why Jack's like, don't worry about it, and that's probably why he sounded so like kind of you know smirky about it, and he was like, yeah, don't worry about it, I'll get out soon.
That is true. That would make sense too, because Jack is the front guy for Sloan,
Hmm.
which is a part of Kazi and Maya, and obviously Miles' uncle is Kingpin, so there is that connection. So that is true, actually, that they probably both are under Kingpin in some way. So yeah.
Hmm.
But do you think could we possibly see Fisk at that Christmas party?
Yes.
You're calling your shot right now. You're saying we're seeing Vincent D'Onofrio in a scene in Hawkeye next week.
Yes, in a scene we will see him. Yes.
In a live scene as some kind of flashback, as something like that.
I'm gonna say. Well, I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna say a flashback, well, possibly when because at the end of this episode you see the picture of him and Eleanor. That's gonna be the lead up to how they both came into contact with each other, and then that's gonna be a flashback, obviously, and then we're gonna pan to present day where we're gonna now see him hosting the party. We might not see him right away, and then maybe some shit goes down. Then boom, door opens, Kingpin's there. That's how I'm calling it.
I was wondering, when do you think Eleanor hired Yelena?
That's a good
At
question.
what point? Because obviously we saw at the end credit scene of Black Widow,
Hmm.
Valentina show up to Natasha's grave where Yelena was and said, "Oh, I thought you want a shot to kill the man," but we don't know when exactly that was.
Yeah, I
Because
don't
for all we
know.
know, that was like the day before she showed up in Hawkeye.
Hmm.
So I'm just wondering, when do you think Eleanor called in the hit on Clint? Like when she at the last episode when she walked away
Hmm.
and she tried to call somebody and she said, "Hey, it's me. Call me back." Do you think that was the moment of Eleanor like, "Hey, Hawkeye is getting too close with Kate. They're figuring something out. We need to take him out." That's at that moment she calls King. She was assumingly calling Kingpin. Hey, we need to take care of this. He then tells Valentina. The next day,
Hmm.
Yelena's
Absolutely.
in New York. Do you think it's that kind of the timeline, or what do you
Yeah.
think the timeline is there?
Yeah, I am thinking that exactly. Uh, Reason being is I don't know if you remember that scene when she appears in Kate's apartment. She's wearing that yellow kind of jacket that she was wearing at the end of Black Widow. She's wearing the
Oh
same
yeah, she
exact thing.
was.
She was
I
wearing the
think about
exact
it.
same thing. So I'm like, okay, so that means that it's literally within days of
Right.
that final. So yeah, I that's how I'm seeing it.
That would make sense. Yeah, that she was wearing that. Well, we're kind of talking about that scene. That scene of Kate and Yelena. I mean, obviously at the end it got a little bit more tense.
Hmm.
But if you do not like Yelena,
Hmm.
what are you doing? She's amazing. I think her and Kate's like chemistry on screen, obviously before things got tense, was
Hmm.
fantastic. I hope those two kind of figure, at the end of the episode, they kind of figure it out, whatever happens, and those two remain in contact, because that scene was just so funny to me and just so enjoyable.
It was, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of like a, you know, to me it felt like a passing of the torch to to the future Hawkeye and the now presumably the new Black Widow. You know, I also enjoyed it, and I know a lot of people have been waiting for those two to appear in the show, and now since we got literally a whole scene dedicated to that, and the way it ended too, with just Yelena saying, if you get my way, I'm not just gonna throw you off a roof again. I'm actually gonna put you down for real. And she just throws a thing and she just zoops out of there. It's like, okay, well, that's pretty cool. I think she literally just like falls back and
She attached
gone.
something before she did.
Yeah, she attached something, but she just falls back. I'm like, all
Yeah,
right,
just yeah.
that's a badass exit for
No, I
sure.
mean Yelena's amazing. I definitely think she was a huge highlight of the Black Widow movie. Just
Hmm.
after watching that, if you for me personally, as soon as that movie ended, I was like, I can't wait for Hawkeye to see Yelena again, and we just need to keep seeing her because she's amazing. So I was definitely happy that we got her before the season finale. She wasn't just like a quick little
Shoehorned
thing to
in.
like lead into like future projects. We'll see her again. I'm glad we got, kind of a big part of this episode dedicated to her, and hopefully the next episode we'll get even more of her, and maybe her and Hawkeye kind of either, actually talking it out and figuring out what all happened, or, maybe this episode we just see Elena just show up at that Christmas party and be like, all right, see you, Hawkeye. It's over. And who knows? But highly doubt it. But, that'd be crazy. Another big part of this episode was Ronin coming back. We see Clint dress up in the Ronin suit again, take out some people, show Maya he is Ronin, and warns her, like, hey, we're the same person. We both, we're kind of just acting out of rage and blinded us. But just so you know, I was tipped off by, somebody who worked under your dad or around the boss. And then she asks Kazi later when she sees him, she's like, how come you weren't there? Kind of hinting at the fact that it sounds like Kazi basically
Sold him
snitched
out.
to Ronin. Yeah, and was like, hey, Ronin, there's some bad people over here, you can take him out. He doesn't show up, he gets killed, hoping he would then be, take over that William Lopez, I believe is Maya's dad named William, take over his spot as like a bigger head of the organization, and obviously that didn't happen. So I think we kind of, do you think we see Maya in the final episode, or is that her driving off after that? Is that kind of like the kind of end of her, and we'll see her again in her own show, and that kind of shows her trying to figure out what she's doing, or do you think she'll somehow have an impact in the final episode?
No, she'll definitely have an appearance. I think you know, um, that whole realization of her finding out that maybe Uncle did want my dad dead, and now I want to figure out why, and it's going to be probably Kazi did tip him off. It was probably a direct order from Kingpin to Kazi. She's like, hey, we need him gone for whatever reason. We could find out why. And then obviously Ronin kills his dad, and then that's probably why. I can't remember if it was episode 3 or 4 when I think it was 3, before, like right after they had that whole shootout at the bridge, and then that big arrow comes down, and then Kazi comes up to her, and she's like, and he asks her like, why, like why do you have to keep on going after Ronin? If he's dead, we should just stop, or unless Uncle's gonna get mad. And then she asked, who's in charge, and then he said you, but you saw him in his face, so he was kind of pissed off about it.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so that was the whole deal, was that he was going to be the next head of the tracksuits, and for whatever reason, Maya then stepped in and kind of took over that spot. Probably why he wants this whole Ronin thing to end, because then he could take over again, or he can then fully take over. But now, since she knows that there's something off, and he knows that she might know something, now he's gonna get he's gonna get Kingpin involved, and that's probably how potentially we could see Maya then help Clint. We don't know that yet though, but she could turn back and help them at that party. She could just show up late and be like, all right, why did you want my dad dead? And if she doesn't like the answer, then she just starts going off on people.
Right. We see her not really in a sense of helping Clint, more in terms of like,
Well,
I want to get
inadvertently.
to who. Yeah, like I'm also trying to get to, if she thinks Fisk ordered the hit, she's like, hey, I want to get to Fisk. You're trying to possibly get to Fisk. We're on the same side in a sense right here if we have the same goal at the end, but not in terms of like, she doesn't accept or, believe in Clint and what he did. She's not on his side yet, but she's just like, yeah, we have a common enemy. So I definitely think because Clint talked about it in, I believe that was episode 4, where he then went to visit Kazi and he showed up like in the back of Kazi's vehicle. In that, Clint says something about you served under William Lopez. I think she said for like 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and now Maya's taken over. So we kind of got that again, like you said, that sense of Kazi's been a part of this organization for a while, and he was the number 2 under William. And then for whatever reason, when William got taken out, he then wasn't promoted to the number 1. Maya stepped in as the number 1, and he again was number 2. So definitely could see how that factors of him tired of being the number 1. He wanted to get to the top guy. You
Mm-hmm.
know, obviously not the top guy, not Kingpin, but just be kind of like the leader of the tracksuit. So I would assume that's also why he kind of wanted her to quit with the whole Ronin thing, just to not have her figure out what all exactly happened, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because if Ronin's actually dead, or if she just stops looking into it, then, you know, she won't figure out that he actually had a part in the murder of her dad and everybody there. So yeah, I definitely do think we'll still get more of Maya in this final episode to kind of help kind of push or lead us to that her own show, her, you know, the Echo show,
Yep.
of which we're assuming is a continuation from here. It's not like a prelude or anything like that. We're assuming it's after what's happening here. So yeah, I agree. I would not be surprised if she shows up in some facet in that. I guess it's not a Christmas party technically. I guess Eleanor did say that Kate created this non-denominational, company-wide, whatever. I don't remember exact words, so I guess it's technically not a Christmas party, but I do believe that's going to be the big theme of this final episode.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to go down. And I think just going back to memory, in pure memory here, there was a shot in one of the trailers where you see Clint like jump out of a building and he just falls down. I think that's has to do with that last episode where that's kind of their escape, where he shoots out like a zip line arrow and the zip line just, for either someone cuts it or it just doesn't hold and he just falls down. I think. I think that's in one of the last shots of one of the trailers. Can't remember which one though, because we still have not seen that yet.
That's true. I know I have seen some of the trailer. Like they put out like trailers after the show started talking about like stuff still to come and stuff like that, and they have shown some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that didn't get addressed at all the entire episode was the watch.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was weird
Oh,
that
well, actually, it did very briefly though, but it did. Where Clint calls, um, what's her name?
Laura.
Laura. Yeah, he calls Laura again, and then when he starts to get permission, but obviously she said he doesn't need permission to do what he thinks is right, and they mentioned the watch and how he's like, yeah, she had the watch. She like they know my family.
Yeah, and a
They
list
know
of
you
like the
guys.
family.
Yeah, so that's other than that. I think that there was no other mention of it, but I don't think Kate even. I thought Kate had it in her pocket or something, but like, I don't know.
That was the last we saw it. Is she put it in her pocket right before she kind of got jumped by Maya in Maya's apartment,
Hmm.
and then since then there hasn't been any mention of it, which I just thought is really weird. Whether Kate still has it. I mean, that's the last we saw it. She had it. Who knows? Maybe it fell out at some point during a fight or when she was falling off the building or something. Who knows? But I just thought that was kind of weird that as much as Clint's focus is getting this watch back, that if Kate had it, she would either give it to him or mention it, or he would ask about it. I just thought that was kind of weird that this whole episode didn't even mention the watch, and if that'll come back up in the next episode.
Possibly. I mean, they could be holding all pretty much all of their cards back, ready for that last episode. Like, all right, here you go. Here's everything.
That's a lot. There's a lot to jam in this episode. That's true.
But I mean, the last 2 or 3 have been like 40-minute episodes, so they haven't quite hit that 50-minute mark like the first 2 I think did. So they could be holding off to have like a longer episode. At least that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for at least 50-ish minutes to an hour. That's my hope. But I mean, it's
I would
whatever.
guess. I would guess this episode is going to be runtime around an hour. I mean, that may factor in the, credits at the end, and
Hmm.
I mean, I would assume we'll get an end credit scene potentially. Have we got one with every episode or every series?
Yes.
I
Well,
don't
One
remember
Division
Loki.
had Wanda reading the
Wanda
Dark
like reading
Hold.
the Darkhold, and then
Falcon Winter
Falcon
Soldier
and Winter
was
Soldier.
um, Agent Carter.
Yeah,
She's
Sharon Carter being the power broker.
yeah, and then Loki was the whole where he comes back and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, who the hell are you? And then he looks up and it's Kang as the main
Oh,
statue there.
that's right.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
forgot about that one.
every single one so far, and then it got that um, Loki was the only one that got the confirmation right there that he was going to get a
There's
season
this
2. Yeah,
right.
but yeah.
Well, Falcon and Winter Soldier had two. Because I think Val talking to
Oh,
what's his face?
John Walker.
John Walker. There it is. Yeah, her talking to him, like the whole getting him the dark suit. That was also a end credit scene.
Hmm.
Oh, WandaVision also had two, didn't it? Because wasn't the whole Monica Rambeau that was an end credit scene, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't think so. I think that was before.
I thought that was an end credit scene for some reason.
I consider it as one, sure, but yeah, no, I'm pretty sure every single one has had one so far.
So I wonder what this one future project is leading to.
We'll find out, dude. We'll find out. Just like tomorrow, we'll find out what Spider-Man has in store for us.
What if it leads to Spider-Man?
That'd be insane.
What if the end credit scene is something with like Matt Murdock and like Foggy, and then they're like, "Oh, we have a new client," and they say something about like, "Oh, he's like an Avenger," or something like that, and that's how it ends. And then tomorrow, from the time we're recording this, No Way Home comes out, and it has some kind of connection there of Matt Murdock representing Spider-Man, Peter Parker in some way.
I hope, dude. I hope.
That'd be kind of crazy. I don't know. There's a lot to still deal with in this episode, and
Yeah.
potentially there's a lot to deal with in Spider-Man. So,
Yep. It's gonna be crazy.
but I mean, like we said, this episode was definitely a really good episode. I liked it a lot. I think it built for the final episode to definitely have a lot to go on, a lot of questions to answer, and have a lot of hype around it.
No, for sure, dude. And I've been rating all the episodes, and I think this one is now on top. I'm gonna put it up on top. I'm not gonna give it a perfect 10 out of 10 because I'm still holding off and waiting to see what the last episode does. So I might change the ratings, and for the last episode, I will have all of the ratings for all episodes, and then I'll say it. But as of right now, I have this episode as a 9.5 out of 10. My favorite episode so far.
It was a good
everything.
episode, but 9. Are you just ranking these of Hawkeye episodes?
Hawkeye episodes, yes.
You're not talking about like just in terms of like MCU projects type.
No.
You're just talking about in terms of
Hawkeye episodes. No, just
okay.
breaking down every episode and then comparing it to one another. I think I gave episode 1 a 5, episode 2, 5 out of 10. Episode 2 a 6. Episode 3 was like a 8.5. Episode 4 was a 8. And now this one's a 9.5. So that's kind of where I have everything. Maybe a 9, but again, that's kind of where I have it right now. And like you said last week, where you have like that like recency bias because you just recently watched it. I just recently watched this, like I want to say an hour ago or so. So
oh yeah, there's definitely
I am still pumped.
Yeah, there's definitely some what they call like prisoners of the moment type ratings going on here. Where just you're fresh out of it. It's like the greatest thing you've ever seen type thing.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like anything can change. So like at the moment, that's what it's at. Anything can change though after next week's episode. So that's still to be seen. But yeah, this episode to me, honestly, the reason why I have it at a 9.5, it had everything. It had humor, it had action. Ronin, taking out those guys and just like pretty much pulling up on Maya. That was dope. Obviously, the reveal at the end with Kingpin. It had everything, man, and I don't know. I just felt like it was the more complete episode from start to finish. To me, you got backstory, you got that bridge between Black Widow to this show now. We found out that Yelena was blipped out of existence for 5 years. So that kind of wraps up that whole question we had. Like, well, she was gone. 5 years has passed, but she hasn't really aged. And then obviously, the whole fight, the whole interaction between Kate and Yelena, which was fucking awesome. It had everything, man. It had that like twist where Eleanor was like, she was being a parent, but she was also like, okay, now I need to frame Jack, or me and Jack have to like pretend that Jack is actually the one in charge, and that way the cops are off my back and off the big boss's back, and then we get obviously the reveal at the end. So no, it was honestly from start to finish. I actually enjoyed it. It was well paced, well written. The jokes actually landed. The action was good. That's why I have it at a 9.5.
It's understandable.
Where does this rank to you? Like, you don't have to put like a number on it, but like in terms of episodes, where do you have it at?
I mean, yeah, I probably would say this was the top one. I think just because, like you said, it was very well rounded. It had a lot of everything. I think the big thing for me that puts it over the top is just getting that whole Kate Yelena scene of them talking. I just thought it was funny. I just think Yelena is so. I think Florence Pugh is doing amazing.
She's so charismatic, man.
I definitely want her to continue. I hope we see Yelena around for a pretty long time in the MCU. But yeah, I mean, like you said, part of it could be prisoner of the moment type thing, but favorite episode of Hawkeye for sure.
Let's fucking go. Let's go.
And I'm excited for next week. But I feel like that's most of this episode. But before we kind of wrap up this episode here, I feel like, speaking of big hype, we have to shed a little bit of light and talk a little bit about Spider-Man coming out. For us, the time we're recording this, tomorrow, we're going to see it.
Yep.
And just how crazy it feels that tomorrow we finally get to see that movie.
Yeah, it's oh my god, I'm so excited. It's like I called it like a few weeks ago, and I think both me and you kind of came to the conclusion like, dude, what if Marvel planned this out perfectly? What if they did like, okay, so we're gonna start the episode or the show at like this day. We're gonna drop 2 episodes, so that way every week is gonna lead up exactly to the episode we want to play the day before the worldwide premiere of Spider-Man. And guess what? We're gonna reveal Vincent D'Nofrio as Kingpin. And what better way to then bring in potentially? Obviously, we don't know yet. We have not been on social media because I know that some people have already seen it and most likely have already spoiled it out there. But to this point, right now, we don't know if anyone else besides the main cast is showing up. So we don't know if Charlie Cox is gonna make an appearance. So, but obviously that would be so dope if we get to see like a Charlie Cox show up in a like courtroom scene to defend Peter Parker. So, yeah, no, Marvel's killing it. This is probably the most anticipated film of the year for me, and at least. And it just so happened to be one of the let's see, what's December? No, yeah, it's probably going to be like the closest to the end of the year film out of all the films that I was looking for. What do you mean? Is there
Matrix 4?
Okay, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's another one. But I mean,
let's be real. We're nowhere near. No one's near as hyped for Matrix 4.
No.
Spider-Man: No Way Home. Like,
yeah, I mean,
real. Love Keanu Reeves. Love the guy. Amazing guy. Amazing actor.
Amazing.
But
what a guy!
Come on.
Yeah, I know.
Speaking of guys, get him in the MCU.
Yeah, get him in the MCU. Get Keanu in the MCU. Yeah, I know, dude. He'd be the perfect like ghostwriter.
Okay, I don't know about that.
Yes, dude,
I think
Johnny Blaze. And then once he goes into the CGI thing, oh yes, and he gets like the fucking
the dude from Walking Dead, Norman Reedus. I kind of want to see him as Ghost Rider.
Oh, we're gonna have to have a discussion about this in in a
That's
later
just my thought.
episode. Who would we
I
want to
love
play
Keanu Reeves.
Ghost Rider? All right, but anyways, back to the point here.
Wait, I'm
Spider-Man: No
throwing
Way
this in.
Home.
We brought it up. I'm throwing this in because we talked about it off screen.
Get ready, everybody. He's about to do something stupid.
Vincent D'Nofrio. Great. What'd he do? Law and Order for like 70 years. Good for you. I want Brian Shaw
No,
as Kingpin in the MCU. I don't care. I don't care.
Who?
Brian
would you
Shaw
say that?
has the better body type for Kingpin.
don't worry about it. Vincent D'Onofrio is gonna kill it. How do you know that they're not gonna change him up like for the MCU? They're gonna make him
Well,
more
there
intimidating.
has been talks about that they did add like a little CGI to his character to kind of make him fit that frame a little bit better. They have talked about that, but I'm just saying,
Don't you worry about
Brian
it.
Shaw.
Nope, nope, nope. Vincent D'Onofrio is gonna kill it.
Marvel, if
We are
you ever
gonna
need
kill it.
help with casting, just let me know.
No,
I got you.
no,
Norman Reedus as Ghost Rider.
nope. Well, no, we're gonna have a discussion about this. Anyways, back to the main topic at hand. Yeah, so it was my most anticipated film of the year, and happened to be probably one of the, you know, latter ones, towards the end of the year. So it's just crazy. I just want to go and watch it. It's like so bad right now, and as of this recording, it'll be in about a day and 6 hours until we will be watching this movie that we've been
Whoa,
waiting for.
a day and five. What are we doing? Come on, a day and
5.
5 hours. It's
It's or
almost
so.
a day and
Whatever.
5.
It's just above 24 hours from now, so it's gonna be insane. And it'll be probably the first time that me and Blake will be in a packed theater in a long time. As I think the last one was probably Endgame, but I don't even remember it being that packed. I think Infinity War was more packed than that, and I think we've gone to every Thursday release, right?
I'm trying to think. Well, Eternals, we weren't able to because we were in different areas, and you and I weren't able to see that one together.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, yeah, I'm trying to think. I honestly think Endgame. I don't know what the last like packed theater was that I was at.
I don't know. To me, it felt like it was Infinity War back in 2018. Because I remember we couldn't even have like seats in the middle because we did sit off to the left, and we sat in different rows because there was not like there wasn't because we have a friend group and there wasn't enough seats in a row for us to all sit together, so we had to split between two different rows. But no, yeah, I think that was the last one, and obviously the whole pandemic happened, and we haven't been able to go to theaters as much, and obviously people don't want to go. But yeah, no, this film has an insane amount of hype. It's gonna single handedly bring back movies to the theater, bring back people to the theaters. Sorry, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a smash hit.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I talked about it earlier. I think this is our first post. I mean, I guess we can't fully say post pandemic because there is still stuff going on, obviously, but this is probably the first $1 billion movie
Since the
post-pandemic.
pandemic, yeah,
Right.
or since the height of the pandemic.
Right. That would be my guess. I mean, who knows? Maybe people still don't go, but from all the theaters that we've looked at and tickets we've looked at,
Yeah,
this
they're
weekend
sold
is
out. It's sold
the
out.
most packed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sold out through like at least Tuesday. I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, I mean, this obviously there's so much hype around this movie. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so hopefully for the next episode, whenever that does come out, that will be a another episode of Marvel Talk, but that will be Spider-Man. That will not be a Hawkeye episode. And then shortly after that, we will then be doing the Hawkeye finale. And then from there, we will then let you know in that episode what we have going on next. But there's more to come out, and we're just excited to, kind of ease our way into the end of the year and see what is ahead of us for 2022.
Right. I mean, like, obviously, huge Marvel fans. We love it, but I'm kind of excited for the end of Hawkeye and to go a couple couple weeks, possibly even a month or so before we get more Marvel content, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of let this podcast switch up a little bit, not fully be all Marvel talk episodes, and kind of just talk a little bit more about other media, movies, that kind of stuff. So,
For sure.
but I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. Like you said, be on the lookout pretty soon here. We're going to have our Spider-Man No Way Home video coming out. That'll probably be in next 3 or 4 days after this one's post. And then we have our Hawkeye finale one coming up next week. But if you like this episode, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments down below if there's anything we've talked about or any predictions you have for either Hawkeye finale or even Spider-Man. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.